This is the Soundpeats Mini Pro HS, and it's exactly the same as the Mini Pro, except it's got that HS moniker, which means it has LDAC. Don't ask me what the HS actually stands for. High sound, it could be Hillier Smith or Horatio Salazar. I mean, who really knows? It's small, it's compact, fits in the pocket really well, and because of that, it has a battery life that isn't stellar, but it's not too bad. 3.5 to 4 hours on a single charge with LDAC running, 75% volume, active noise cancellation on. Now, the form factor is a bit odd. As you can see, it kind of sticks out a little bit. Now, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. One, it's small, but it's not quite small enough that you can go to sleep with it on one side. It is a little bit uncomfortable, but it's still very compact. The other problem is the actual nozzle, despite it looking the way it does, is a bit of a shallow fit, which means you might have to upsize your ear tips a little bit to actually get a proper seal, which is going to be very important for that active noise cancellation performance. Nonetheless, it does stick out enough that there is a bit of wind noise that it picks up, especially if you're out on a bit of a jog. The way you get around that is you either turn it to pass-through mode or just turn off all active noise cancellation off. Between you and me, this is a trick that works with all Bluetooth earbuds. If they don't have wind noise reduction, just turn off ANC and it goes away. But that is a shame in this case because the ANC is actually pretty good. In fact, it's one of the best in the sub $70 price category. The only thing that was better in my testing was, I believe, the JBL 230NC. But with the upsized ear tips, I was able to get a better seal and a fit on this one. So for me, this actually works better than the JBL, but the measurements show that the JBL is actually a little bit better. Oh, and if you want to check out these measurements yourself, I'll leave a link down below. You can actually compare different earbuds that I've tested and see which one's got better ANC for different frequency ranges. Now, the other thing that's interesting about this is the transparency or pass-through mode. See, this is a reference line. That's the reference noise signal. Stay with me here. This is the AirPods Pro transparency mode. As you can see, it follows the reference line almost exactly. That just means the AirPods Pro are basically reproducing what's going on outside pretty much exactly as is. That's why the transparency mode on those things are so good. Now, with the Mini Pro HS from Soundpeats, you can see that it's also pretty parallel, which is also really good, but only for the bassier frequencies. So if you're in an area with a lot of low frequency noises or someone who's talking to you has a very deep voice, it's going to sound really natural on transparency mode. Unfortunately, at the higher frequencies, that falls off, which means those frequencies are a little more muted, and that basically leads to a muffled sort of external experience. So I haven't seen this sort of thing in many Bluetooth earbuds, so at least they're making waves in the right direction. Still though, objectively, transparency mode isn't the best, but at least it doesn't emphasize certain higher frequencies unnaturally loudly like some other earbuds do, which is just as well because from a features point of view, you actually don't get much, let alone customization of ANC and transparency. You get exactly the same features as every other Bluetooth earbud that Soundpeats gives you. It's got a game mode for low latency, it's got the ability to turn off your touch controls, and then it's got a bunch of EQ, which neatly leads us into sound quality. Now, the sound quality is another place where I see a massive step in the right direction. Let me pull up the graph. Don't be afraid. This is the bass section, this is the mids, and this the highs, the treble section. The higher the line is on this graph, the more emphasis there is on those frequencies. And you can see that the mid-range right here, it's flat. That's a really, really good thing. And you can see the bass is emphasized. Here's the problem. It is emphasized, but it is vastly overemphasized. The interesting thing though is that despite that overemphasis, it manages to hold its own pretty well. Like the drivers they've used seem to be delivering decent quality bass despite there being a massive boost. If only they had reined that bass in a little, if only they had tuned it a little better in the bass department, a little less ambitiously, I think they would have really, really nailed it. And the same thing is on the other end as well. The treble section and the upper mids, all those frequencies responsible for like female vocals or any higher pitched sounds from instruments, all of that is also boosted quite a bit. So while it does sound a little more fun, it does get a little too ambitious, and that emphasis between sort of 3 and 7 kilohertz, that makes it sound a little shouty and overly sharp. This is a trap that all brands fall for when they try to make their sound a lot more fun. But maybe that can be solved with EQ. Well, unfortunately, the Soundpeats EQ, the one that comes in the app, is not quite up to the task. Two reasons why. Number one, you've got not enough frequency bands for you to actually fix what in my opinion, is a little broken with respect to the high frequencies on this thing. And two, even though the scale says -6 to +6, the difference is only about 2 dB. You can go plus or minus 1 or 2 dB and that's it, which is fine if you want to tweak something, but it's not good enough to actually fix the harsher treble that you'll find on the Soundpeats Mini Pro HS. The audiophile side of me would have completely lambasted this for that kind of emphasis in the treble region. The closest competitor to this is the JBL Tune 230NC, and that is tuned much, much better. Really, really mature tuning. I mean, it's from Harman, why wouldn't it be? However, the JBL can't handle its own bass rise. It has a boosted bass, but the drivers they've used, it's mushy, it's not detailed. This thing, with a far more ambitious bass boost, still sounds better and more detailed in the bass than the JBL. So imagine this with better EQ, with a better graph. Well, to do so, unfortunately, you'd have to resort to a third-party app like Wavelet. And if you want a EQ that works better for this, then join the Discord and I'll post maybe 1 or 2 EQs, one to tune it like the Harman curve and perhaps another with a little tweak that maybe would make it a little better, at least to my preference. Join the Discord and we can have that conversation. Overall then, is the Mini Pro HS worth your money? That's what it comes down to, doesn't it? Well, it's small, it's light, it's pocketable, it's comfortable in the ear, and yes, there's the wind noise issue, but if you're not moving about too much, the ANC is genuinely quite good for the money. And the sound quality, well, it's just a bit ambitious, but I suspect a lot of people will really, really enjoy this because you do get clean mids, you get a lot of bass, you get a little overemphasized treble, but I know a lot of people won't mind that. I think this is a good value package that isn't quite there yet, but it's showing me that Soundpeats, and hint hint, they've sent me a few devices, this seems to be the sort of direction they're going in. It shows me that Soundpeats is making inroads in the right direction. I just wish they improved their feature set and improved the EQ in the app so you can really change things around, or they just tune it with a little more subtlety. That's the Mini Pro HS. This has been What's New. I'll see you in the next one. Stay happy, stay peaceful, stay colorful. Namaste.